I know you're probably thinking central banking, innovation is not like an oxymoron. The reality is that's exactly what I thought about a year ago when I was first approached about this role. Well, for the first 10 minutes, I laughed and laughed and laughed because I thought it was one of my crypto friends pulling some sort of a funny prank on me that, yeah, the Fed wants to hire a DeFi degen. But as I learned more and more, I really fell into the Fed rabbit hole, or as my colleagues and I here have a joke, my job is to red pill them and their job is to try and Fed pill me, and then, we see where we land. But innovation at the Federal Reserve System is alive and well. There's a lot of interesting things happening. And having grown up in the fintech and crypto ecosystem, I know there's a lot of curiosity within this community as you're building for the future, how to better engage with the regulatory community, how to better collaborate and understand where there's opportunities for co-creation. But it's hard to do that if you don't fully understand the entity, and there is a lot of opacity.
Technology is at the heart of everything that we do. My partner in crime here, Mark, is the business leader. I am the technology leader. And he mentioned our payment system. So our payment systems, every day we process $4.5 trillion of wire. Throughout the year, we auction $19 trillion of treasury bonds. Every day, I think we process $145 million of ACH transactions. Well, all that is running on a payment rail. And that requires technology, that requires security, that requires sort of availability and resiliency to make sure that the financial transactions. So technology runs that, but at the same time, we're looking at technology as where are we going? Where is the world going? And how do we advance the technology at the Fed? And that's what we're calling our digital transformation journey. It's really looking at where fintech and the financial industry and some of the innovations that we have learned about in the last couple of days is driving us towards, and building a technology plan and a technology roadmap to get us there. So there is a level of responsibility and thoughtfulness and carefulness that we have to apply as we innovate at the Fed, because we have a huge responsibility of keeping the country and the financial system running.
On the one hand, we have cash serving a particular use case in the economy, including importantly privacy, and then in the middle we have the ACH system and the check system. You can think of those as batch payments that enable people to pay their rent or their car payment or their mortgage or what have you, any kind of recurring payment. And then on the far end of the spectrum, our wire transfer business, FedWire, it's a real-time large dollar settlement service where it enables individuals and corporations to make high consequence payments in a risk-free way.
Making payments in financial services simple, fast, and easy is definitely, I know, a big part of and safe, but definitely the first, that whole ethos actually connects very nicely to a lot of the use cases that I know builders in this community have been trying to solve for and build for. So I think there's definitely it's very symbiotic, the problems we're all trying to solve, obviously doing it in very new and interesting ways, which is a good thing. How does the Fed's interrogation of a potential CBDC, how do you frame that in a way that, how does that compete or complement all the private sector innovation?
So we kicked off this discussion paper in January, and the discussion paper was primarily meant to begin a dialogue with a variety of stakeholders, both in the public sector and the private sector, both in the traditional or TradeFi sector as well as the DeFi and the innovation sector. Right? And we really want to begin to unpack what this future might look like. What are some of the opportunities and challenges? How do we think about new digital forms of the dollar? What should they look like? What rails should they be on? How do we sort of make them more broadly accessible? How do we sort of continue to think about the role of the dollar internationally in economic activity, in cross-border payments? So there are a lot of these issues and challenges that we need to be thinking about at the Fed that really sort of need to understand how technology is evolving and what role that we should be thinking about for ourselves as well as for the private sector as we sort of evolve into that next generation.
One of the best parts of my job is to be the Bumble app of innovation, I like to say, and really making these connections between the work that's happening fintech and crypto and DeFi and Web3, GameFi, you name it, and the work that my colleagues and I are doing in terms of advancing innovation. And I know one of the questions I often get is, wait, the Fed wants to hear from us? And to their credit, I know Dave, more than anybody, has spent a lot of, I would like to think, quality time hanging out with me and the crypto community, really trying to understand the work that's happening in terms of, taking away some of those friction points, helping us interrogate those questions that were laid out in the CBDC discussion doc, which my first call to action to everybody is, if you haven't checked it out, we encourage you to. You don't have to guess how the Fed is thinking about it. It's out there very transparently. And the second thing is, know that you have a virtual open door to engage with the Fed. And if you don't know how to, start with me. I am more than happy to talk to anybody and help make the right connections to my colleagues at the Fed, because we definitely are on this perpetual journey to be listening and learning.
We really want to understand from you all how to think about technology. So it's really important to understand from those on the front lines of innovation and technology to really understand what's possible and really have a serious conversation about limits and constraints and challenges as well, and get a better understanding of what's out there and what is possible now, what may be possible in the next 5 years. I was in Consensus at 2016, and it feels really big now relative to just a few years ago. When I first went in Manhattan, and I think there was just a little circle of booths, and now there's just a proliferation. So we really need to unpack and understand that. So hopefully we'll look forward to a lot of conversations with you as we go through this journey.